I love that in our marriage, we understand that each other have different perspectives.
Mm-hmm.
I see the world differently than you. You see the world differently than me. But that doesn't make us going through life together difficult.
Absolutely.
It actually makes it better
Mm-hmm.
because there's certain things that I'm missing in my perspective that you can give to me.
Mm-hmm.
And the same thing for you. And I think it's so dope that we understand that we're totally different people with two totally different personalities, different gender, different upbringing. We see the world differently and we understand that that's not a bad thing.
Absolutely.
You know? So that's really where I want to go with this conversation.
I know that our differences in the way that we see, the world, ourselves, even our differences in beliefs sometimes, they've been helpful for us because we've never looked at them as things that we have to challenge against each other.
Right.
More so realizing that, like you said, we both have different paths, different upbringings, different things like that allow us to see the world in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
And I love the fact that we've been able to take our different perspectives and just use them as a point of interest.
Yeah.
Like I never have thought about the way you think about something as being like wrong or having the feeling to where I need to challenge it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, I understand that you think differently because your life experiences has taught you something,
right.
or you've been exposed to things differently than I have, which has shaped the way that you think about certain things.
Right.
And that's not anything for me to challenge.
Mm-hmm.
And you've always kind of came at me, with that same approach. Mm-hmm. It's like, we're just different people and we can understand that we see the world differently. And what we've done so well in our relationship, and over the past 11 years of our marriage is we're able to take each other's differences and opinions and perspectives and things like that, pull from each of them, and then create something new together as we talk through them, as we really just kind of like see each other's world, and we can just kind of grow through those things and create something together. And I love that.
Mm-hmm. I think it's dope that we come from a place of just wanting to understand each other. Mm-hmm. Like, why do you see the world this way? What made you think this? Why do you feel this way about that? Instead of saying, you shouldn't feel this way. I don't know why you think like that. You shouldn't be thinking about or thinking like that. And it's like, no, like, calm down. Like, it's more so like, let me just understand. Cause like, I'm so curious about you. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So I want to know why you think the way that you do. And it also helps me analyze why I think what I think about things. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense? Why I think what I think about things.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's just dope being able to understand that we're not going to always see eye to eye on everything, but that's not necessarily a bad thing for our relationship. Mm-hmm. It can actually be a helpful tool because now we can be able to problem solve differently. Mm-hmm. Like how I would have solved problems in my single life is totally different than how I solve problems with you, because me looking at it, how can I say this? There may have been some missing elements that I needed. And now that I have you, like, you fill in those elements that I was missing.
Yeah.
And like now looking back, I can actually say that I'm like, dang, like I probably shouldn't have did it this way. And then you come into my life and you're like, babe, have you tried this? And I'm like, yes. Oh my God, this changes everything. So like, I just think it's dope that our marriage has been what it is, even though we see the world differently.
Yeah. Because we were extremely opposite, in the beginning.
Absolutely.
Like polar opposite in so many different ways, but we only looked at that as something interesting in each other. Mm. And I know a lot of couples, like, they battle with, having such strong differences in perspectives, but it doesn't have to actually be that way. It's like when we were early on in our in our relationship in general, it just made us curious about each other. Mm-hmm. I wanted to understand, like, why do you think about whatever it is, the way that you do? Mm-hmm. Like, where did you get that thought and that belief? Mm-hmm. And the great thing about it is we were able to look at each other, even to this day, and be like, I understand that you have this thought, this feeling, this perspective around something. And then we can look at each other and see if if it's destructive or if there's a better way of thinking about it based off of where we want to go in our relationship, our goals. We can see if there might be a limiting belief in there, or because we know each other so well, we can see if we might actually be carrying somebody else's thought process, perspectives or beliefs or something like that as well. And we've learned how to do that, in my opinion, so masterfully that it's really become like a superpower of ours. Like, it's okay for us to be able to see things differently. And I love the fact that we talk about it anytime something comes up, because it allows us to be able to open each other's mind and just see the world in a different way, but also be able to give that instant feedback, so to say, because we think and see things differently. And I think that is, that's the power of being in like a deeply committed and passionate and productive relationship, because you get that feedback about your perspective
from someone you actually value, respect, trust, and has good intentions for you. Because I say it like that because we get so much feedback from about our content online, and with people with all of their perspectives on how we create content and what we say, and like knowing that, okay, we're talking about what we're talking about from our perspective, the lives that we've lived. It's okay for you to have yours. It's our way of doing and being is not threatening your way of doing and being.
Absolutely.
We're not trying to attack you. We're just trying to introduce a new way of doing things. If you want to learn from that, great. If you don't, don't. So it's always interesting to see that knowing how to understand that other people have different perspectives is a skill. And it's a skill that a lot of people actually don't have. They're not able to see that. They're not able to take a step back and look at things through another person's lens. And
especially without creating conflict.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we see so much of, because, you know, man, we post stuff all the time where we're sharing our thoughts and our perspectives, and people they'll come out the woodwork, you know, trying to bash our thoughts and our beliefs and different things like that. Not realizing that when we share stuff, we always give context or some additional context in the captions, and we'll be like, this is a belief or perspective that has served us well. And that's it.
Yeah.
We're not saying that it's set in stone. We're not even saying that we'll think and believe the same way 6 months, a year from now, 5 years from now. We're saying that in the stage or the phase of life that we're in, this perspective has served us well, be it where we are now or somewhere that we've been before. Sometimes, you know, we have different thought processes that even we go back and challenge sometimes. And that's okay. The point is, it's like finding whatever you can make useful in that moment, analyzing it, and then being able to share it or use it in a way to where you can make it productive. And we get people, you know, that'll come on there and attack and all of this different stuff. And it's like, bro, we're not saying that this is the only way to think about something, that is the only belief that you should have, or whatever the case may be. This is just where we're at with it. And if you can learn from that, that's great. If not, keep scrolling. Right. You know what I'm saying?
I'm always confused as to like why people are so mad at other people seeing the world differently than them. Like, why are you so upset about it? Like, that is a normal thing. For people to see the world differently is a normal thing. So it's like, are you mad at the person, or are you mad because you're not really solid in what you believe and what you think about this particular topic? So it has nothing to do with us. It might have everything to do with you. You know what I mean? So, and then it's interesting because I'm like, okay, well, these, like you said, these perspectives and beliefs have served our marriage well, and we consider our marriage to be successful, right? So why be upset when people are using things that help them be successful in their marriage? Their idea of what successful is. Like, if you don't consider this successful, then don't worry about it. Like, just keep going. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and it's like in our challenge book, how we talk about, you know, creating your own standards and values and your beliefs or your family compass and things like that, right? We will share ours, and this is where we at with it. But in us sharing ours, what we're encouraging is you to create your own. Not to do it like us, not to be like us, not to take on all the beliefs that we have. We're saying, that it would be productive, it would be beneficial for you to create those things for yourselves, you and whoever you married to or whoever you with. And then the two of you come together and create that and move about, you know, following those standards and values in your lives and in your futures together as y'all see fit.
Absolutely.
It's about being in alignment. And we talk about that so much. Like, and so I think that sometimes people get so like focused on exactly what's being said and how they're hearing it, even if it's not exactly what the context is or what the focal point is, but they'll hear bits and pieces and parts of it and then try to dissect it and attack it. And all of these things rather than figuring out how can I learn from this or pull the parts from this that I can learn something from and then get rid of the rest.
Yeah.
But I'm freaking getting tongue tied today.
We both
crazy.
are. We both are.
But
It be like that sometimes.
yeah, but like it really trips me out though, because what we're trying to do is encourage independent thought.
Yes.
There's so many people pushing narratives online about so many different things. Some are good, some may not be as productive, but what we're saying is based on your beliefs, your standards, your values, you can take some of the information that you're hearing and see if it's in alignment with you in a direction that you're going either in life or in your relationship or whatever. Use what you can, get rid of what you can't, or also use your own thoughts, values, and beliefs and stuff like that as a filter. Everybody has perspectives. You don't have to agree with them all, but you can be a sponge and soak up the good where you can and just get rid of the stuff that you don't have any desire for. Like, it's okay.
Right. I've watched videos of things that I don't agree with at all, and that's perfectly okay. But in those moments, it's not about me like really disagreeing with them. It's like, okay, well, if I disagree with them, why do I disagree with them? And it gives me a moment to really either kind of like challenge my belief already or like solidify why I really believe this. Like what in my life has taught me that this belief right here is true for me instead of what they're saying. You know what I mean? So you can take a lesson from it, whether you agree with it or not. You can still take a lesson from it. It's just your perspective will determine how you do that though. So
it's like, I remember I put up a post a while back and I was talking about parenting. I was like, I said something along the lines of, you know, if you're ever in a situation to where you know that your marriage is in a tough space, that you and your spouse haven't had time together, you know, intentional time together, and like y'all are needing that, and your marriage is in this particular type of circumstances or situation, and you should end up in a situation where it's like, hey, either go to Little Timmy or Little Susie's game, or, you know, have an intentional date night with your spouse. And I was like, hey, your kid, they'll understand. Like, I mean, maybe they won't. But spend that time with your wife. Spend that time with your husband. Spend that time with your spouse. And I was saying that, like, that's our opinion based on our life experiences, our almost 16 years as being parents now, having been through a lot of different situations, knowing how important it is to make sure that the husband and wife are good, and how good us being good positively impacts our baby girl. You know what I mean? And so we have all of these different levels or layers of context around why we would think something like that. A lot of people won't feel that, especially parents out here who live for their kids. Their whole life is dedicated and devoted to them. I know those people exist, and they would lose their mind hearing something like that. I get it. I'm not even saying that you're wrong. To each his own. If you want to be like that, that's great. I'm just saying from my perspective. And so it's like when we say things like that, we understand that this message is going to connect with a certain type of people who understand that, or who have the context in their own lives to connect with this message. It's not saying this is the cut and dry, fully solidified, only way of thinking. You should never do anything else. Way of doing stuff. Some people heard forget your kids' games, only go, only spend time with your spouse.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like people turn that into a whole other freaking scenario. No, I gave specific guidelines and I was like, okay, your marriage is in this type of shape. These things are happening. All of this is going on. You know what like I built the context and people still flipped it and turned it into something else. And people do that type of stuff, man, in their everyday life and aren't even aware, which is why perspectives, when people share them and they don't know how to communicate those things or listen with the caring and empathetic ear, it can oftentimes turn into conflict because you're trying to challenge somebody's thoughts and beliefs because you think differently rather than asking a follow-up question like, what makes you think and feel that way? Where did you get that perspective from? What life experiences have shown you that that's a good way of going about something? Like you can help dissect something. And somebody, if you want to introduce a different perspective and you take that approach, a lot of the times people will be open and receptive to receiving it if you can deliver your side of it well, or at least consider it.
The thing is, they don't care.
No,
like they don't care. They came on the post to,
with an agenda
to argue. Like that's literally what it is. It's like as much context we put in videos and more context in the captions and even in the comments, they just don't care. And they're not there to even try to understand a different perspective or try to see the world differently through somebody else's eyes. So it's just understanding like, oh, you came here to argue. You came here for a fight. We ain't gonna give you that.
Yeah.
You can have it.
Pretty much.
Right.
And I know, man, I've heard people share crazy stuff that works for them in their marriages. I ain't finna comment on that. Like, I'm not even finna engage it. Honestly, I just be like, wow, that works for y'all? But y'all happy, man. Well, what's the saying? If you like it, I love you.
Right.
You know what I'm like? Hey, to each his own.
Right.
Like, you do your thing. Like, who am I or who are we to tell you that you doing your marriage wrong?
Exactly.
Hey, what's for you is for you.
Exactly.
Do your thing.
Exactly. And like everybody's idea of a successful marriage might not look the same.
Absolutely.
And that is perfectly okay. But we're going to share our perspective because it's a lot of bull crap on the internet. So it's like, okay, well, let's just give the people a different side of what a successful marriage looks like.
Another option to think about.
Yeah. Not saying do it, just something to think about.
Yeah. And that's a big part right there, because even when people are hungry for information and they want to learn stuff, that's why follow-up questions are so important. And looking for context and really trying to understand the best way that you can, because we can share something that we genuinely believe to be true or share a perspective that's really helpful, and somebody can find value in that and still not know how to execute it well.
For sure. Because
just because you heard something, just because you think something is a good idea and you go and try to do that thing, doesn't mean that you're going to be able to do that at the same level that we do.
Right.
We have so much history in our relationship. We've built such a strong foundation. We had such a strong friendship before we got married. We don't have hard conversations because we can talk pretty openly about any topic. So we might present ideas that are very easy for us, but very difficult for other people who don't have our same context inside of their relationship. And people, I don't know if a lot of people actually think about that, because the reason marriages work is when you have two people who are genuinely committed to each other. They want to serve each other, love each other, give each other the best of what they have and what they are. And they want to work together. They want to be married. They want to be the best spouse possible. They want to show up as the best version of themselves for each other. And they're open to all of these different ways of just growing and connecting and loving more and all of these different things. Like, all of that stuff matter. And it sounds really good and like it would be common for that to be a marriage, but it's not in all marriages.
Right.
Some people only got 10% of that in their marriage. Some people got half of that. You know what I mean? So it doesn't mean that all advice, no matter how good it might sound, is going to work for you the same way because you're still two different people. And you have to learn how to apply stuff. Like, shoot, even in us, man, like in our relationship, we've had to learn how to apply certain information. And there's stuff that we do today that had we have tried it 10 years ago, we'd have failed miserably.
Epic fail.
Yeah, like it wouldn't even make sense for us to think, feel, act, and respond certain ways because we didn't have the time, the history, the everything.
We hadn't lived enough life yet.
Yeah, we ain't lived enough life yet for us to even know how to make that make sense.
Exactly.
You know, so we got 11 years of intentionality. And that ain't nothing to play with.
True, baby.
Yeah, so it makes sense for you to be able to share something on. I remember an episode you was talking about like how you have the high emotions and different things like that. And you know how I can take that from you and listen and respond to you a certain type of way and love you through that or whatever.
Right.
And that's triggering for some people.
Yeah, because when I say high emotions, they're thinking about what their experience of high emotion is, not exactly what I'm talking about, because you don't know me and know what I mean when I say high emotions.
Exactly.
So like even the fact that it's hard for people to think about that is like when someone says something, you think they think everybody is saying the same thing and it means the same thing.
Exactly.
Yeah, the same words mean the same thing. So high emotions for me might mean like I'm just like spitting out my words. I might get a little loud, but I'm not like yelling at you. But my tone, I might be a little louder than normal, and I'm just trying to get my words out. Like, babe, like let me just give it to you real and raw, and then we're gonna dissect it together or whatever. Right. But for somebody else, it might be like screaming and like pointing and like hitting or like what, and I'm like, no, that ain't
perspective,
me.
right? Because that's what they're familiar with or what they know.
Exactly.
So their context is completely different.
Absolutely.
And so they hear that and they like, oh, hell no, I wouldn't be taking that. That shows immaturity, emotional immaturity or some crap like that. And I'm like, no, because the only reference point you have is whatever you've have been through in your own life.
Right.
Which is a great time to start asking questions. What does that look like? How have y'all managed that? Or whatever the case may be, rather than criticizing it. Because again, people can only assign meanings based off of their own understanding.
Right.
And that's what just makes it's so difficult, man, because people oftentimes fail to realize, man, that we all are different. So even though we might say something that sounds similar, there's still a lot there that you may not understand or that might be left out in that conversation or that clip or whatever the case may be. So if it's something that you're actually trying to understand, man, follow-up questions, everything.
Yeah. That's why I really do appreciate the people who do ask questions. Like, even if they don't do it in the comments, they'll come into my DMs and they'll be like, hey, like you said this and this real, this is how I'm feeling, like, you know, and like really trying to understand like where I was coming from. And I love that because I'm like, that's what we do it for. Yeah. Like we do it to be helpful. Like we don't do it just for the likes and just the amens. Like, no, we do it to actually be helpful. So it's actually more beneficial for us if you ask us questions because now we get to really like get our wheels turning and really get to better articulate our points.
Yeah.
So.
And that makes everybody better.
Yeah, for sure.
Because even like we say all the time, man, like I'm not sold on any one way of thinking about something.
Right.
Like I'm not married to a belief, a perspective, a way of thinking about something. I'm not. Like we're very flexible in the way that we think and we're open-minded. And so with us being that way, we can take, you know, feedback and other thought processes or whatever the case may be and see how we can make that make sense.
Right.
Or find, you know, truths in it or whatever. And see what parts of that we can pull from it and make useful.
Yeah. And
a lot of people, you know, they can be so sold on whatever it is because life taught them X, Y, Z, not realizing, man, sometimes you can be taught, you can go through an experience and get the wrong lesson.
Yes. Absolutely.
And that is, not everybody like tends to know that for some, it's like we know it. but we don't act like we know it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's so true. That's so true. I had a point and it went somewhere.
It went.
It went somewhere.
I like your little intermission jingles.
Listen, I'm a hum a little ditty every now and then. Lord Jesus, give it back to me.
As you're thinking on it though, it does remind me of when we had that conversation with baby girl.
Bingo.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
We had that conversation with baby girl today when she was presenting to us about her desires for her Sweet 16.
Yes. Yes.
And as we were talking to her, you know, she went through this whole presentation about, you know, why she wants what she wants and making sense of it and all of this stuff, right? Mm-hmm. And after she got done, you know, me being the father, you know, your husband, the man in the household, protector, all of those things, right? My knee-jerk thought process was like, nah, I ain't with it, because of my traditional thinking about, you know, I'm not cool with this, or this is what I think might be unacceptable, you know, for my daughter, or all of these things, right? And so in that moment, I was telling baby girl, like, hey, you know what? This is how I'm thinking and feeling right now. Mm-hmm. And I expressed to her that I'm not saying that my thinking right now is right, my perspective is right, but this is where I'm at with it based off of what you just said right now.
Right.
And then I told her, you know, like, hey, man, you were going to talk, because I needed a moment to challenge my own thinking, because I know that there might be something inside of me or in my thoughts that may not be my own. Mm-hmm. And I needed a second to challenge my own perspective.
Yeah.
And so in that moment, you know, she went off of me and you had a chance to think and talk and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And it made me realize that a lot of the stuff that I was thinking wasn't even my own. Mm. It was like traditional stuff that I had heard before, you know, about like, oh, you know, well, your daughter shouldn't do this, or this shouldn't be seen as acceptable, or, you know, people can perceive things like X, Y, Z, or whatever the case may be.
Right.
And like, as I'm thinking about it, I just realized that a lot of that stuff was dumb. Like, and I know I'm being a little bit vague here, you know, intentionally so. Yeah. But I realized in that moment, because, you know, I was like, hey, I'm not with this thing. But as I thought about it, where it came from was a dumb place. And I say it's dumb because it wasn't my own thoughts and beliefs that I was sharing and I was expressing at the time. And I realized that the perspective I had was just outside noise and influences from things that I've heard before. And sometimes, you know, as people, we can think that we should think a certain type of way, or that our standards or our values should be a certain type of way because of what we've heard, or because of how we've seen other people do certain things, or whatever the case. And it's not true to us. Right. And so in that opportunity for me and you to talk, I had a chance to challenge that stuff. And I was like, no, you know what? Like, I don't agree with what I said before. You know what? Like, I'm good with this. Mm-hmm. I'm good with this. Like, we can do this thing for you for your birthday, whatever the case, right? Mm-hmm. And we brought her back and we had a chance to talk to her. Mm-hmm. And that was such a dope moment, because I got to tell her that I had a certain way of thinking and believing and things like that, and that I needed a moment to challenge my own beliefs, because I don't know if all of that is actually me. And if I've been influenced by something outside of me. Right. And I got to seek counsel from my helpmate, you know, my partner, to analyze my own thoughts. And I know you initially was like, nah, I ain't with it either. Yeah. And we both had that opportunity to grow through that moment and then give her not only, you know, our approval, but the lesson that we ended up being able to get in that moment about sometimes your thoughts, your beliefs, and different things like that, your perspectives are flawed or skewed, or they may have been influenced by things outside of you. Right. And that was such a dope moment to be able to share with her.
I'm so glad she got to experience that and see that that should actually be a normal thing. Mm-hmm. You should always be challenging your perspective, like being okay with like growing and seeing the world in a new way, especially when it's beneficial for you. Yeah. So I'm so glad that she came to us, because my initial answer was no. And like, I guess she was like, okay, well, maybe I need to talk to my parents in a different way so they can better understand and I can really show them like how much this means to me.
Right.
And for her to really like bring it on home, and like she knew what we were already going to say.
Yeah.
And the fact that she was able to hit every single point. And then when I'm literally sitting there during the presentation and I'm like, she is correct.
Yeah, she literally gave us like a 12-page PowerPoint.
Yeah, PowerPoint. Yeah.
Like spent half the day.
Got dressed up and everything.
To plead her case behind why it made sense for her to get a certain gift she wanted for her birthday. Mm-hmm. Crazy.
And I literally was like, she is absolutely correct.
Yeah.
Like the way we were thinking about it was not the best. Mm-hmm. So I'm just glad that she got to see us in that process of challenging our own perspectives and knowing that she should do that too. You know, when she's introduced with new information that makes her see the world differently and it's beneficial for her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she helped open our eyes in a way that we clearly didn't have before. Because initially we was like, hell nah, like what's wrong with you? You know what I mean? I don't say that literally, but you know what I'm saying? But like, that's kind of like where we at with it.
Yeah.
But then we was like, hold on, wait, let's actually think about this. Brought so much information, and then what was dope about how she did it was, like you said, she catered to our values. So it wasn't a selfish presentation about me. It was like, all right, these are my parents' concerns. These are the concerns. These are the things that they're thinking about. This is something that I know that they would bring up or whatever. And she kind of explained all of that stuff so well and laid it all out. And I was like, initially, I was like, bro, I still don't think I rock with this. But then I was like, all right, why don't I rock with this? I love everything you said, but then I had to start like unpacking like through my man brain. You know what I mean? Like I had to go there and start challenging that because like I told her, like, I'm your dad. I see things through a whole nother lens than your mom does and how you do as a little girl. I'm like, hold on, bro. Like, I need a moment to like really analyze my own thinking and stuff like that because I know that I felt like I owed her that much to really put some real thought into it and to really, like I said, go and challenge my own thoughts and my own perspectives to possibly see this thing in another light. So I wasn't so solid on like, hey, this is what the law is and I'm laying it down for no reason.
Because I said so.
Because I said so type stuff. But because there was respect there. It's like, I respect the fact you went through all of this work to help us understand. I'm going to give you this time. I'm going to give us the time to really think about this thing and challenge our own beliefs and see if we can either make it make sense or further reinforce our beliefs.
Right.
So it wasn't just like, all right, how can we lean this thing over here to where we can like find a way to be all right with it? We was like, no, hold on. I think our original thinking was dumb. It was literally dumb. After we had processed everything, we was like, dang.
And we told her that.
Yeah, and told her like it was literally stupid. But we had never taken the time to consider our own thinking about this particular topic.
Yeah, this is the first time it came up. So
ever.
Yeah.
Like, bro, you only got a 16-year-old, you know, like, well, once in our case.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. But I love the fact that we did that. And I actually, like, I encourage people to do that in anything. Like, especially when it comes to, like, bigger things, bigger decisions, whatever the case may be, in any area of your life. Like, those with our baby girl. But, like, think about how many times people have knee-jerk reactions to other people's perspectives or thoughts about stuff, you know, in conversations. And they immediately burst out, you know, with their thoughts and their opinions and all of these different things based off of, well, my mom, my dad was like this, or my granddaddy, you know, they raised me like this, or I came from this and I am the way that I am. And people can be so, it's like they wear that stuff with a sense of pride, not realizing, man, like sometimes beliefs can be outdated. Sometimes the way that you would raise a kid in this day and age, it made sense for it to be that way. Or again, context matters.
Come on, babe.
Something that might have been normal at a certain period of time may not be the same during this period of time.
Yes.
There's new information. There's new norms.
Yes.
You know what I mean? There's ways of being able to process information differently. There's things that we do today that you wouldn't dare think of doing 30, 40 years from now, like, well, not from now, back in the day. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But it just takes like taking that extra second to really process, like, where's this coming from? If I had this thought and belief, and not just say just because this what they told me.
Right.
This is what, you know, I grew up on and that's why I'm at with it. Sometimes that ain't the best approach.
Yeah. My follow-up question is, how has that been helpful for you?
Yeah.
Like, how have you, like, them saying, do it this way and continuing to do it that way, how has that been helpful for you?
And are you married to them?
Yeah.
Like, you ain't married to your mom and dad.
Exactly.
Or your grandparents. Like,
Period.
no, this is our relationship. We need to figure out the best way to do this for us and our goals.
Absolutely.
Our future. We're not living for nobody else.
Period.
Yeah. Like, ain't nobody else in this.
Right.
It is us.
Right.
So.
But that's even a thought to have, like, even if you're not in a relationship, to think about that.
Yeah.
Like, I understand you respect your mama and grandma and papa, all them, but is what they told you actually helpful for your life?
And then on top of that, like, again, are you even able to make whatever that is useful? And I keep saying it, man, context. Like, understanding that the time that you may have gotten that information, it might have made sense. Doesn't make sense today.
Yeah.
So, yeah, man. Perspective is something that you often have to take with a grain of salt and really, like, unpack it and decode it. And if possible, please, like, ask questions to understand. And it doesn't have to be an attack. It doesn't have to be an argument.
Right.
And I think that it actually, like, deepens connections when you ask those questions, because I feel like it shows that you care.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not trying to say that your beliefs are trash.
Right.
I just want to understand them. And then maybe we can present some new information in a way to where we can have a shared understanding and maybe create a new approach.
Absolutely.
So, perspective. But anything else that you want to add on that, baby? All right, boo. Well, I hope you guys have enjoyed the episode, because we've definitely enjoyed the conversation. And as always, family, you know, we love to have you, and we love to have these conversations and being able to bring you guys into our world just a little bit. But until next time, my name is John Trone. This is my beautiful queen,
Adoria.
and we are One Dope Couple. And until next time, family, peace and love.